I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news lately, but it is extremely difficult right now for new college and university graduates to land a job.
I know it's an extremely difficult situation for you.
And it hasn't helped thanks to the state of the economy. However, as a qualified accountant currently working as an analyst, I'll give you 3 life-changing tips that will save you from being broke. So pay attention. Cut the spending on garbage and have a spreadsheet that keeps track of your expenses. So I'm assuming most of you are earning some sort of income, whether it's from a full-time job that you're holding on to dear life for, a part-time or even casual work, or even getting a monthly allowance. Therefore, it is recommended that you do the following. Only buy things you need to buy and focus on investing that money. That means keep the entertainment and materialistic items to a bare minimum. I'm talking about limiting the subscriptions, stopping yourself from getting that new luxury handbag, which looks exactly the same as your current one. Avoid getting, the new Call of Duty, which looks like the past 5 Call of Duties. And that new iPhone pocket where you can literally just put your phone in your own pocket and bag and just grab your phone that you would carry around anyway. FYI, this sold out, by the way. Yes, I know, this product actually sold out. Crazy times. Anyway, this next tip could save you from literally being homeless. And that is, have an emergency fund. That is where you set aside funds for financial emergencies. So how would you do it? Well, a simple way would be the following. One is set a savings goal. So using your spend tracker, note down all the monthly expenses you have and multiply that figure by however long you want your fund to last. I.e. could be like for 3 months to 6 months or 12 months or even more depending on how much money you want to have in that fund. The second thing to do is to then, once you've identified the savings goal, is to then transfer that money. Now we know how much expenses we have to cover. We'll then set aside a percentage of your paycheck towards that fund. So in the previous video I spoke about the 50-30-20 rule. So in this case we're saving money, right? So therefore we use the 20% figure that will go towards the fund. So that means 20% of our paycheck will go towards the emergency fund. Once done, you'll need to set up recurring deposits to a high interest savings account. So high interest savings accounts around like 4 to 5%. So that way your money isn't just sitting there doing nothing, but it's also accumulating interest. And lastly is to monitor the progress of the fund. So once you've reached your desired goal, you can either stop the recurring deposits or continue making deposits if you want to start saving for an apocalypse. The last tip is vitally important and you have probably heard about it before, but I'm going to give you some extra detail and a slight twist on how you can maximize the strategy in the current job market. And so I'm talking about investing in a diversified portfolio. Let me break it down. So you need to research on different types of investments that suits your risk appetite on money while being responsible. So in other words, say you have a sum of money. If you'd like taking a lot of risk, you might shove that all into crypto and you pray that you get a quick return. However, we are in a tough job market, so I suggest we be more responsible than that and not just gamble away the money to oblivion. So how are we going to spread our funds and sprinkle these into different investments exactly? Well, there are a few ways. One is to put our money towards a fund which has historically generated a return of 8 to 10%. So would you like to take a guess on what that is? Correct. If you said index fund or ETF, you have somewhat of an understanding of some basic finance. Anyway, so an example of this is being the Vanguard. By the way, the strategy is for someone who is a bit more risk averse or risk neutral. However, if you really want to maximize the gains and take a bit more risk, then you have the option of conducting individual security selection. So the famous Warren Buffett has stated the following: invest in what you know. Saying that, what is being said is that it is encouraged to invest in stocks from different sectors and industries that you have really good knowledge in. For example, the hype right now is around the tech market. So the top stocks right now that every single person under the sun is looking at is Nvidia, Microsoft, Oracle, etc. Mainly because of the hype around AI. So if these stocks collapse and these are the only stocks you have, then you're screwed. So to spread that risk, we want to look at other industries or sectors that have a more limited relationship exposure with the tech market. And we also want to look at industries or sectors that you have knowledge in. Now, obviously, if you don't have knowledge of any sector, then I suggest read about those different industries and sectors that are available to invest in within the stock market and then make a decision from there. So in this case, for example, we've got financial services, healthcare, and utilities. So if we use a simple example, say Nvidia is currently trading at $100, but you also have stock in JP Morgan, which is in the financial services sector, and they're trading at $300 per share. Then we are investing in the utilities sector by a company called NextEra, and they're trading at $85 per share. At the end of the year, Nvidia drops to say $80, JP Morgan goes to $320 per share, and NextEra goes to $90 per share. You have 10 stocks in each. Then what is the gain or loss of these shares? So if we apply our formula to get the correct calculation, so in Nvidia you've made $20 loss per share, so that'll be $200 loss, say if we had 10 shares. And then JP Morgan, you'll get an increase of $20 per share, so it'll be $200 increase. And then NextEra, we gain $5 per share, and we have 10 shares, so we got a $50 gain. So overall we have a $50 gain. Now if you only invested in Nvidia, then you would have made a $200 loss, therefore having no dough. You can also have a mix of different securities, like a mix of stocks, bonds, derivatives, but this is more complex and I'll save this for another video. Anyway, if I helped you out on this video, then like, subscribe, and comment what type of video you'd like to see, and maybe I can go into a bit more detail on the topic. But yeah, thanks for watching and peace.